Imagine a world where the sun, once a blazing beacon of an empire, began to dim. Not with a sudden, catastrophic eclipse, but with a slow, relentless twilight stretching over generations. This was the fate of the Western Roman Empire, a civilization that had once spanned continents, now gasping for breath, its mighty heart weakening with each passing decade. It wasn't a single blow that brought it low, but 1,000 cuts. Endless wars draining its coffers and its youth. Internal instability fracturing its leadership, declining revenues, starving its public works, and constant invasions by tribes eager to claim a piece of its fading glory. The once inconquerable legions were now a patchwork of mercenaries and desperate conscripts, defending borders that seemed to melt away like snow in spring. Amidst this slow, agonizing decline, a new kind of leader was forged in the crucible of change. Our story truly begins in the latter half of the 5th century, a time when the very idea of Rome was more a memory than a living reality for many. The seat of power in the West had shifted from the Eternal City to Ravenna, a marsh-protected city on the Adriatic coast. It was here that a commander named Odoacer, a man of Germanic heritage, yet deeply entwined with the Roman military machine, began to rise. He was a leader of the Foederati allied Germanic tribes who had long served Rome, often with distinction, but who now felt neglected, their promised lands and pay long overdue. They were joined by Roman soldiers, equally disillusioned, weary of a system that no longer protected them or honored their service. Odoacer was no barbarian chieftain in the traditional sense. He understood the Roman system, had fought under its banners, and saw its inherent weaknesses. He recognized the profound injustice simmering among the soldiers, both Roman and Germanic, who were asked to die for an empire that seemed to care less and less for their welfare. In 476 CE, that simmering discontent boiled over. Odoacer led a revolt, not against Rome itself, but against the puppet emperors who sat on a decaying throne, manipulated by powerful generals. He marched on Ravenna and with surprising ease captured the city. There he faced Romulus Augustulus, a young boy, barely a teenager, who had been placed on the imperial throne by his father, a general named Orestes. This moment, often cited as the fall of the Western Roman Empire, was remarkably devoid of drama. There was no epic battle, no grand sacking of Rome. Odoacer deposed Romulus Augustulus, but he did not kill him. Instead, he granted him a pension and sent him to live in a villa in Campania. It was a gesture of pragmatic mercy, a recognition that the boy was merely a pawn in a much larger game. The act, however, was profound. It marked the end of a line of emperors that stretched back to Augustus himself. For the first time in over 8 centuries, there would be no Roman emperor ruling from the West. Yet, Odoacer did not declare himself emperor. He understood that the title, once so powerful, now carried little weight and immense baggage. Instead, in a stroke of political genius, he sent the imperial regalia, the diadem, the purple robes, the scepter to Emperor Zeno in Constantinople, the ruler of the Eastern Roman Empire. His message was clear. There was no longer a need for a separate Western emperor. Zeno was the sole emperor of Rome. In return, Odoacer sought recognition not as an emperor, but as something new, king of Italy and patrician, a high Roman title. Zeno, wary of a new rival, but also recognizing the practicality of the situation, reluctantly agreed. Odoacer's rule in Italy was a fascinating blend of old and new. He maintained the Roman administrative apparatus. The Senate continued to meet, taxes were collected, and Roman laws were upheld. He understood that to govern effectively, he needed the existing structures and the Roman elite who knew how to run them. Yet, he was also a king of his people. Land was redistributed primarily to his loyal Germanic military, assuring their continued support and settling them in the fertile lands of Italy. For ordinary Romans, life didn't drastically change overnight. They continued to farm, trade, and live their lives amidst the ruins of a declining empire. Major cities, once vibrant metropolises, were now mere shadows of their former selves, their grand public buildings crumbling, their populations dwindling. The stability Odoacer offered, however imperfect, was a welcome relief after decades of chaos. Meanwhile, other remnants of Roman power outside Italy, like Julius Nepos in Dalmatia and Syagrius in Gaul, still clung to the title of Roman ruler, eventually fell, either to Odoacer's growing influence or to other Germanic tribes. Odoacer's control over Italy solidified, and for a time it seemed a new order might emerge from the ashes of the old. He was a pragmatic leader, bridging two worlds, attempting to preserve the best of Roman civilization while integrating his own people into the fabric of Italian society. But the Eastern Roman Empire, though initially accepting of Odoacer's new arrangement, began to grow uneasy. Emperor Zeno watched with increasing concern as Odoacer consolidated his power, becoming a formidable, independent force in the West. Zeno sought a solution, one that would remove Odoacer without directly engaging him in costly warfare. His gaze fell upon another powerful Germanic leader, Theodoric, king of the Ostrogoths. Theodoric and his people were a constant, restless presence on the Eastern Empire's borders, sometimes allies, sometimes threats. Zeno saw an opportunity, pit one powerful barbarian against another. He offered Theodoric a grand prize at Italy itself, if he could defeat Odoacer and establish a new, more compliant kingdom there. Theodoric, a brilliant military strategist and a man of immense ambition, seized the opportunity. In 488 CE, he led his entire Ostrogothic nation, warriors, women, and children, into Italy. What followed was a brutal, protracted war. Theodoric and his Goths, hardened by years of migration and conflict, proved formidable. They defeated Odoacer in several pitched battles, slowly pushing him back. Odoacer, though a skilled commander, found himself outmatched by Theodoric's larger, more unified force. The final stand came at Ravenna. Theodoric laid siege to the city, a siege that dragged on for nearly 3 agonizing years. Ravenna, with its marshy defenses, proved incredibly resilient. Inside, Odoacer and his remaining forces held out, enduring famine and disease. But even the strongest will eventually break. In 493 CE, with both sides exhausted, a peace agreement was brokered. It was a fragile peace, born of desperation. The terms stipulated that Odoacer and Theodoric would rule Italy jointly. A grand banquet was arranged in Ravenna to seal this pact, a feast meant to symbolize unity and the end of hostilities. But Theodoric was not a man to share power. At that banquet, amidst the feasting and apparent camaraderie, Theodoric drew his sword. In a shocking act of betrayal, he personally struck down Odoacer, killing him and eliminating his rival once and for all. It was a ruthless, brutal end to a reign that had attempted to bring stability to a fractured land. Theodoric then systematically eliminated Odoacer's family and loyalists, ensuring his sole dominion over Italy. With Odoacer gone, Theodoric became the undisputed ruler of Italy. He ushered in a new era, one that, for nearly 3 decades, brought a remarkable period of stability and relative prosperity to the peninsula. He, too, sought to blend Roman and Gothic traditions, preserving Roman institutions while integrating his people. The story of Odoacer and Theodoric is a powerful reminder that even in the twilight of an old world, new leaders emerge, sometimes through necessity, sometimes through ambition to forge new paths. It tells us that history is not a linear march, but a cyclical dance of destruction and creation, where the remnants of what was often become the foundation for what will be. It is a testament to the enduring human spirit, always striving to build anew, even amidst the greatest ruins.